What's the smartest move when someone takes you for granted? Blocking them, begging them, chasing after them? No, none of that. The most powerful response is silent, simple, and deeply effective. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what to do and why it hits harder than anything else you could ever say. No blocking, no begging. These are the two biggest traps people fall into when they feel ignored, rejected, or undervalued. Blocking may look like strength on the outside, but in reality, it's often just anger dressed as control. Begging, on the other hand, is pure desperation, an attempt to hold on to something that's already slipping away. Both actions expose one thing: emotional weakness. When you block someone in a fit of frustration, what are you really saying? You're telling them, "You got to me. You had enough power over me to disturb my peace." It's not strength, it's a reaction. And reactions are always a sign that someone else is pulling the strings. Blocking does not erase the connection in your mind. It doesn't heal the wound. It only hides it for a while. Begging is even more dangerous. Begging strips you of dignity. It lowers your value in an instant because the moment you plead for someone's time, love, or attention, you've placed them on a pedestal above yourself. You've told them they are the prize and you are the chaser. No one respects a chaser. People respect those who choose themselves first. So, what should you do? The answer is simple, but it requires strength. You do nothing. You don't block. You don't beg. You don't run after anyone trying to prove your worth. You simply step back, focus inward, and let your absence do the talking. Here's the reality: human beings are wired to crave what they can't easily have. When your presence is guaranteed, when your love and attention are always available no matter how you're treated, it becomes ordinary. It loses value. But the moment you stop chasing, the moment you create space and scarcity, your value multiplies. Suddenly, the same person who overlooked you begins to wonder why you're not reacting. This silence is powerful because it creates contrast. They were expecting drama, confrontation, or tears. Instead, they're met with calm detachment. That silence becomes louder than any words you could ever speak. It unsettles them because it communicates strength. It tells them you are not controlled by emotion. You are controlled by discipline, and discipline is magnetic. The person who controls their emotions, who doesn't respond in predictable ways, always becomes the one with the upper hand. Imagine two people after a conflict. One blocks, one begs. Both lose. But the one who does neither, the one who remains calm, silent, and composed, that's the one who holds the power. You see, absence forces reflection. It makes people question themselves in ways arguments never can. When you stop showing up, when you stop fighting for a place in someone's life, it creates a gap that only they can fill. And often it's in that quiet gap that realization begins to grow. But remember, this isn't about manipulation. It's not about making someone chase you just to boost your ego. It's about choosing yourself first, about refusing to play games with your dignity, about showing through your actions that your self-respect is not negotiable. When you no longer block in anger or beg in desperation, you rise above the cycle of reaction. You send a clear message: my worth does not depend on how you treat me. My life continues with or without you. And nothing unsettles another person more than realizing you are not afraid to walk away. Shift focus inward. That is where the real power begins. Too many people spend their lives chasing approval, validation, and love outside of themselves. They are constantly looking at others to tell them who they are, what they're worth, and whether they are enough. But the truth is, the more you look outward, the more you lose yourself. When your happiness depends on someone else's attention, you give them complete control over your emotions. One message from them can lift you up. One silence from them can break you down. This is not love. It's dependency, and dependency always leaves you weak. Shifting focus inward means choosing to become your own source of strength. It means asking yourself, what do I want for my life? What do I need to grow, to heal, to thrive? Instead of asking, what do they think of me? Why haven't they chosen me? Why don't they see my value? When your energy is focused inward, the outside world loses its power to control you. Understand this. People are attracted to those who radiate self respect. When you carry yourself with confidence, when you prioritize your own growth, it creates an energy that cannot be ignored. But you can only create that energy when your focus is no longer on them, but on you, on becoming better, sharper, stronger, wiser. Think about it. When you are constantly analyzing someone else's actions, why they didn't call, why they didn't choose you, why they pulled away, you are draining your own power. You're handing over your time and mental energy to someone who may not even value it. But when you shift inward, that same energy gets redirected into building yourself, into working on your fitness, your mindset, your career, your peace. Suddenly you become so focused on your own path that their absence no longer feels like a loss. This shift changes everything. The people who once ignored you begin to notice your silence, your growth, your glow. Not because you chased them, not because you begged for their attention, but because you stopped giving them control over your life. You shifted the spotlight from them back to yourself, and nothing is more powerful than that. But let's be clear. Shifting focus inward is not about becoming selfish. It's about becoming whole. It's about realizing that no one can complete you because you were never incomplete in the first place. It's about building a life so full of purpose and strength that whether someone stays or leaves, you remain unshaken. When your focus is inward, your standards rise. You no longer tolerate disrespect because you know your worth. You no longer chase people because you are too busy chasing your goals. You no longer settle for less because you've discovered how much you bring to the table. And this is when everything changes. The relationships you attract, the energy you give off, even the way people look at you, it all shifts because you shifted. Remember this. The greatest revenge, the greatest proof, the greatest response is self improvement. Not words, not arguments, not trying to convince someone to see your value. It's in living in such a way that your growth speaks louder than anything else. That is what happens when you stop pouring energy outward and start pouring it into yourself. Two mindsets that can completely change how you are treated in relationships, in life, and even in the way you see yourself. Most people live in scarcity without even realizing it. They believe love is rare, opportunities are rare, and if they lose one person, they lose everything. That fear of loss makes them cling, beg, and compromise. And the moment you operate from scarcity, you lose your power. Scarcity tells you that if someone leaves, you will never find someone like them again. Scarcity whispers that this is your only chance, your only option, your only hope. And because of that belief, you hold on tighter, even to things that hurt you. You accept disrespect because you think you can't do better. You tolerate neglect because you fear being alone. This is how scarcity robs you of dignity. Abundance, on the other hand, is a completely different energy. Abundance is the belief that there will always be more opportunities, more connections, more love, more chances to grow, to succeed, to start again. When you live in abundance, you stop clinging, you stop chasing, you stop thinking that one person determines your future. You understand that you are the source of value, and because of that, life will continue to give you options. In relationships, scarcity is obvious. It shows up when you overgive, overtext, overexplain. It shows up when you can't let go of someone who has already shown you they don't value you. Scarcity convinces you to lower your standards just to keep them around. And the cruel truth is this: when you live in scarcity, people sense it. They sense your fear of losing them and they use it. They pull away knowing you will chase. They give less knowing you will accept it. Scarcity attracts disrespect. But abundance attracts admiration. When someone sees that you don't cling, that you don't beg, that you are not afraid to lose them, it forces them to value you. Why? Because human nature desires what cannot be easily possessed. When you operate from abundance, your energy says, I am enough. I will be fine with or without you. I don't need you. I choose you. And nothing is more powerful than being chosen, not needed. Abundance also shifts your focus. Instead of obsessing over one closed door, you begin to see the countless open ones. Instead of crying over one rejection, you remind yourself that rejection is redirection. Instead of panicking over silence, you invest that time into yourself. This is how abundance strengthens you by reminding you that life is bigger than one person, one relationship, one moment. And here's the beauty of abundance: you don't have to force it. You build it by working on yourself. When you develop your skills, when you nurture your confidence, when you create a life you love, you naturally attract more. You no longer feel the need to chase because you already know you are a magnet. You know you bring so much to the table that losing one person doesn't shake you. Scarcity keeps you stuck. Abundance sets you free. Scarcity makes you chase. Abundance makes you choose. Scarcity drains you. Abundance fills you. And in every situation, you have a choice to see what is missing or to see what is possible. This is one of the strongest forms of power you can ever develop. In every relationship, in every conflict, the one who controls their emotions controls the outcome. The one who reacts less wins more. The one who can stay calm when others expect chaos always holds the upper hand. Most people lose because they let their emotions rule them. They shout when they should stay silent. They beg when they should walk away. They act out of impulse instead of patience. And every time they do, they give their power away. Because the truth is simple: the moment you lose control of your emotions, you put control of your life in someone else's hands. Think about how people test you. They ignore you to see if you'll chase. They provoke you to see if you'll explode. They withdraw to see if you'll break. Every reaction they get from you tells them exactly how much control they have over you. If you are quick to anger, easy to manipulate, desperate to explain, you have handed them the map to your weaknesses. And once someone knows your weaknesses, they can use them against you whenever they want. Emotional control, on the other hand, is unpredictable. When someone expects you to cry and you don't, when they expect you to fight and you stay calm, when they expect you to beg and you remain silent, that discipline unsettles them more than any outburst ever could. Your composure becomes a mirror that forces them to look at themselves. Understand this: emotions are natural. You will feel hurt, anger, sadness, disappointment. But the strength lies not in suppressing those emotions, but in mastering them. Mastering them means you acknowledge what you feel, but you do not let those feelings dictate your response. You take time, you breathe, you choose your action instead of reacting impulsively. That choice is where true power lives. In relationships, emotional control is everything. Without it, you end up chasing, begging, arguing, over explaining. You give away your value piece by piece. With it, you learn that silence can be louder than words, that walking away can make a stronger statement than shouting ever could. That calmness is not weakness, it is strategy. People respect those who remain calm under pressure. They admire those who don't lose themselves when tested. Emotional control signals maturity, strength, and self respect. It tells the world, I decide how I feel. I decide how I respond. No one else owns that power. And when you live by that, you stop being controlled and you start leading. Think of it like this: emotions are waves. They rise, they crash, but they always pass. Most people drown because they try to fight the wave in panic. Emotional control means you learn how to surf the wave, how to ride it out without letting it pull you under. You let the wave come and go while you remain standing. That is discipline. That is strength. The truth is, the world will always test you. People will disappoint you, betray you, provoke you. Situations will challenge you. But your response determines whether you lose yourself or rise above it. And every time you choose control over chaos, you become stronger. Every time you master your reaction, you reclaim your power. Sometimes the loudest message is delivered in silence. Sometimes the most powerful statement is made when you are no longer there to explain, to argue, or to convince. Presence is comfortable, predictable, and often taken for granted. Absence, on the other hand, creates a space that cannot be ignored. When you remove yourself from where you are not valued, your absence begins to do the work your words could never achieve. People may ignore your presence, but they cannot escape the void your absence creates. That void forces them to reflect, to question, to notice what they dismissed when it was right in front of them. Absence is not about games or manipulation. It's about dignity. It's about knowing when your effort has been wasted and having the strength to step back. It's about refusing to fight for someone's attention when your silence can say so much more. Absence communicates what endless conversations often fail to express. I will not stay where I am not respected. I will not fight for what should have been freely given. Think about how human psychology works. We notice things most when they are missing. The music stops and we realize how loud it was. The light goes out and we realize how much we needed it. The person leaves and suddenly their value becomes clear. That is the power of absence. It sharpens awareness in a way presence cannot. Most people make the mistake of trying to force recognition. They chase after closure, after explanations, after validation. They believe if they just talk more, argue more, prove more, then finally they will be seen. But the more you push, the less you are valued. The more you fight to be noticed, the more invisible you become. Absence breaks that cycle. It flips the dynamic completely. Instead of running after them, you step back. Instead of proving your worth, you allow them to feel it. Your silence becomes a mirror that forces them to confront their own actions. And in that space, reality sinks in. What they once ignored now becomes what they miss. But here's the truth. Absence is only powerful when it comes from strength, not weakness. If you step back while secretly waiting, obsessing, and begging for a response, the energy betrays you. But if you step back with dignity, with peace, with focus on yourself, then absence becomes a force. It speaks without you having to say a word. Absence also protects your energy. Instead of wasting time trying to be understood by someone who chooses not to see you, you redirect that time into yourself. You create distance, and in that distance, you grow. And as you grow, your value increases. Suddenly, the person who once overlooked you begins to realize what they lost, not because you reminded them, but because your absence revealed it. Understand this. Absence is not about punishment. It's about clarity. It's about giving both yourself and the other person space to see the truth. Sometimes they realize your worth, sometimes they don't. But either way, absence allows you to keep your dignity intact. Let your silence, your distance, your absence carry the weight of the message. Because words can be ignored, but absence cannot. Presence may be forgotten, but absence is always felt. Every time you let someone else decide your worth, you hand over your power. Every time you beg for attention, explain yourself endlessly, or settle for less than you deserve, you are giving pieces of your strength away. And the truth is, people only treat you as powerfully as you treat yourself. If you act powerless, you will be seen as powerless. Reclaiming power begins with one decision: no more giving control of your emotions, your peace, or your future to someone else. You do not need anyone to validate who you are. You do not need anyone to confirm your value. The moment you realize this, you stop waiting, you stop chasing, and you stop surrendering your dignity in the name of love. Power is not in controlling others, it's in controlling yourself. It's in refusing to let someone's silence break you. It's in staying grounded when they try to shake you. It's in walking away with calmness when everything inside you wants to scream. That restraint, that discipline is what makes you powerful. Too often, people think reclaiming power means getting revenge, proving a point, or making the other person regret their actions. But true power is not about them, it's about you. It's about standing so firmly in your own worth that whether they see it or not, it doesn't change how you see yourself. It's about shifting from a place of dependency to a place of independence. Reclaiming power also means setting standards. You stop tolerating half efforts, empty promises, and inconsistent energy. You make it clear through your actions, not your words, that if someone wants a place in your life, they must come with respect, effort, and consistency. You no longer negotiate with disrespect because your boundaries protect your value. Think about it. When someone knows you will always stay no matter how little they give, they have the power. But when you show you are willing to walk away, you take that power back. When you stop begging to be chosen and instead choose yourself, you shift the balance completely. That is when people start to respect you. That is when they realize they cannot play with you. Reclaiming power is not a one-time act. It's a daily choice. Every time you decide not to overreact, you reclaim power. Every time you choose silence instead of arguing with someone committed to misunderstanding you, you reclaim power. Every time you invest in your growth instead of waiting for someone to notice you, you reclaim power. Step by step, action by action, you rebuild what you once gave away. And here's the most important part. You don't need to announce it. Power doesn't scream. Power is quiet, steady, and undeniable. When you reclaim it, people feel it without you having to say a word. They notice it in your calmness, in your discipline, in your refusal to settle. They notice it in the way you carry yourself differently. Reclaiming power transforms the way you move through the world. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop asking, why did they do this to me? And start asking, what can I do to grow from this? You stop waiting for someone else to give you closure and you give it to yourself. You stop making them the center of your story and you take back that role for yourself. Because at the end of the day, no one can give you power. You already have it. It's simply been buried under fear, dependency, and self-doubt. Reclaiming power is just remembering who you are and living like it.